Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Anthony Yarde wins the rubber match between himself and Lyndon Arthur. He wins a unanimous decision. I think there were a couple of 116, 112s in there. Sounds about right. 115, 113, yeah. But this was billed as the chief support or something to the Ben Eubank fight. Look, did anyone actually call for this fight? Or was it just the promoters putting them together? Because I didn't expect it to be a thriller, and it wasn't a thriller. It actually improved somewhat as the fight went on. It became a bit of a sort of attritional slog. But it wasn't a particularly exciting fight. Lyndon Arthur, and to a lesser extent Yarde, but Lyndon Arthur certainly is so frustrating to watch. He's so conservative. He's a pure counterpuncher. All this time he spends hanging on the ropes, looking to counter. I mean, you look at him and you think, do you want to win this fight or not? Because at some point you're going to have to roll the dice, gamble a little bit. You know, if you're hanging on the ropes and you've got a guy in front of you who's throwing more punches, even if you're soaking him up on the arms and the shoulders, the judges are probably going to give him those rounds. And, you know, you ping in the odd single shot counter that may land flush, but you're not going to get the rounds. You know, he's never thrilled me. I've always found him very frustrating, Lyndon Arthur, and I did in this fight. Now, as for Anthony Yarde, bear in mind that like Lyndon Arthur, Anthony Yarde's never beaten a world-class fighter. He's lost to a couple of very, very good fighters, Kovalev, who'd seen better days, but, you know, and obviously Beterbiev. Just like Lyndon Arthur went the distance with Bivol and didn't win a single round on any card. But both these guys are... Yeah, with Yarde, you can say Yarde is probably maybe a bit more talented, but flatters to deceive constantly. He's a total enigma as a fighter. His whole career has been. And Arthur looks like, you know, you'd think, well, he should be pumping that jab and, you know, showing a lot of... a lot of variety. Once he gets his jab going, hangs some combinations off the jab, and you know he's got long levers. He's quite big for the weight, quite tall for the weight. I think he was 2 inches taller than Yarde, 3 inches maybe. But it's just there's nothing there. There's no spite there. There's no real endeavour there from Arthur. And with Yarde, at least in this fight, having been behind possibly after 6 rounds, because there's no doubt about it, Arthur was pinching rounds because Yarde wasn't just doing enough. And the one thing I will say about Arthur is, you see, he can be crafty. He's got a lot of sneakiness about him. He can pinch rounds, and I thought he was doing that in the first half of this fight. Yarde was disappointing in the first half of the fight because he sort of hangs his reputation on being explosive and, you know, physically very imposing and you know, speedy, natural athlete and so on. Yeah, you know, okay, I can go along with that. But when you think about it, looking at this fight, the second half of the fight, all he did really was with Yarde was get Arthur on the ropes. Arthur seemed quite happy to be there. Let lots of punches go, you know, and then Yarde was sort of out-gutting him, out-willing him. And it was very... This wasn't world-class stuff. And Yarde is constantly, even though he's 33, well, you know, he's a world-class fighter. Who's he beaten at world-class? Who's Arthur beaten at world-class? Both these guys have had world title shots. What did they do to deserve them? I don't get it. And this was, you know... I mean, this was a, headliner at the York Hall, maybe a support gig at the O2, perhaps. But to put it on a pay-per-view as the main supporting fight for this, you know, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium blockbuster between Ben and Eubank, I mean, this was... Nah. They were pushing it, and but anyway, Yarde moves to 2-1 in the series. Yarde got the win, deserved the win. I don't know where he goes from here. Like I say, he's 33. He's back with Frank Warren now, so he'll probably get opportunities. Arthur's the same age, 33. He's lost 2 of his last 3. He lost to Bivol, then he beat Liam Cameron over 10. That was a split decision. And now he's lost to Yarde again. Both these guys, I think, have had underachieving careers. That's all I've got to say on them, really. But it is what it is, I suppose. That's the kids always say. But what did you think? Let me know your comments if you got any. And yeah, if you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll give you your comments to read and answer as many as I can. Okay, we've got the big one to come. Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr., or vice versa if you prefer. So stick around for my review. Enjoy the fight, and I'll catch you later. Bye for now.